I'll show you how it's done. Shazam!
Hey, how you doing, guys? Welcome back to our channel here at Underdeveloped, and today I'm here alone because I watched this movie and Nick didn't. I watched it with a friend, and it's the movie Highest to Lowest. It is Spike Lee's, the legendary Spike Lee, New York native, a New York Knicks fanatic. He's at all the games. This is his latest film, Highest to Lowest, starring his longtime partner. Done like 5 films with him, one of them being one of my favorite films of all time, which we covered for the channel, which is Malcolm X. Top 3 performances of all time. As Malcolm X, he got cheated in the Oscars. In addition to that, Malcolm X is also one of the best films of all time, in my opinion. 3 hours long, but really good character development. You get to see someone from point A to point B in full entirety. You know, full 180 change, you know. So Highest to Lowest, it opens up with this really cool sequence where you get to see pretty much the landmarks. Not landmarks, you pretty much get to see a bunch of great aerial shots, maybe drone shots of New York City, you know, a bunch of different penthouses, the bridge, different parts of the city, all throughout the boroughs. Well, most of the boroughs, mainly Queens, Harlem, Queens, Manhattan, like Midtown, downtown Harlem, Bronx, Brooklyn. Yeah, playing this song, Oh, What a Beautiful Morning. It's his rendition of Oh, What a Beautiful Morning. Like, oh, what a beautiful morning. And and we know like this. If you ever saw the trailer, like we know this is a more of a grounded kind of movie. So to hear that over like real raw shots of New York City, Oh, what a beautiful morning, like from Oklahoma, is like, okay, cool. I thought it was interesting, and it's drawn out too. The whole song went through like that was a whole opening sequence with like the cast, the crew, all that shit, you know. So yeah. And anyways, so Denzel is in this fat ass penthouse in Brooklyn, like Badumbo. Guessing about where the location is, Front Street, overlooking the bridge in Brooklyn. And he has his family. He has his son, his wife, beautiful wife, good person. And he's also a music executive. He runs a very successful label called Stacking Hits Records. And he's in the universe of the film. He's like started careers of like 50 artists who won Grammys, you know. Quincy Jones called him the next big thing. He's like a wonderkin with his air. He's good at finding, discovering talent, and building stars. I'm doing it for decades, but you know he's kind of getting crushed under the new wave of like celebrityism and social media and all that shit. You know, so you know his company over the last few years has been kind of struggling, and they want to sell to a media conglomerate that's pretty much going to rip out the heart and soul and fuck with his masters and do things that he doesn't want done to his company. So he decides to make a power play. So he takes out a huge loan with the sole purpose of buying back control from his partners so he can run it the way he sees fit. And then life decided to throw a curveball. So this hating ass nigga ASAP Rocky, well, we don't know who he is yet, but we know ASAP Rocky. If you know who the hell he is, you could tell in his voice that he decides to take his son for ransom. He kidnaps his son and say, nigga, give me 17.5 million in Swiss francs in a bag, and you're gonna give it to me on a train. And he's willing to do it for his son, but then it was a head in the movie. You have to watch it. It's a headband situation. They get switched because Jeffrey Wright, Paul Christopher, that's the chauffeur of Denzel. His son was with him, and he decided to take his headband back from Denzel's son. So then the kidnappers confused the chauffeur's son, Jeffrey Wright's son, for Denzel's son, King's son. So they confuse the son. So they end up taking the chauffeur's son, Jeffrey Wright's son, and end up letting him go. So now, but then the kidnappers are still like, nah, we still got him. We're gonna kill him if you don't give up the money. But Denzel's like, I have everything taken on his money. I'm supposed to give up my money for someone that's not my kid. But he's like, what is the blood gonna be in your hands? And with social media these days, if they find out that he could have saved them, and chose to save his own ass, and that kid dies, especially one of his best friend's sons, he's gonna look like an asshole. So he's in a real sticky situation. You know, because he has to, just like in the real, not real movie, but just like in the original High and Low, he was faced with that crazy moral situation between like being moral you know what I mean, or self-preservation, because it's not just money to him. This is like everything. This literally, if he can't do what he can do with his money, he's gonna lose everything. He's gonna lose every fucking thing, and he doesn't know the consequences for losing that money yet. You know what I mean? Because it's really, because it's a loan. You know what I mean? Like, you know, it's a sticky situation because he's not that liquid right now. So 70 million is pretty much almost his whole reserves, which he was gonna use. You know, so. But basically, he decides to use the money because the cops is on the case that's tracking him. You know, they could put a track in the bag. So, okay, I'll just get the money back. I'll take a risk. Fuck it. I'd rather not have this kid's death on my hands. So they end up doing the whole thing, send the whole thing within the train station. At this point, the Puerto Rican Day parade, Dominican parade, whatever, that's going on. And the kidnappers use that as an excuse to create a huge diversion. So now they're all on different bikes with decoy bags to basically trick the police, which they do. Dean Winter's character, he ends up opening up a bag of freaking tampons. so the guy we clean with the money. So this leads Denzel and his chauffeur to find out who the hell this dude is, which is lucky because the son, when he was kidnapped and he found him, he said, yo, I heard this song that it's not like a mainstream song. And he told him how it goes. So then Denzel, being in the music business and figuring out what the hell's going on, this dude's actually in one of his son's playlists. Because his son, early in the movie, was trying to tell him about this artist that he discovered that he wanted to see. So that all ties in together. So he's able to find out this dude, oh, okay, this sounds like the song that he was talking about. And then by the tone of this dude's voice, which they said Rocky's, he's like, oh, I hear the hunger in this nigga's voice. It's definitely him. He stole my shit. Because he's a Wonderkin, he has this air. So then they figure out where he stay at. So, you know, James Bond Payback plays in the background while, you know, Denzel does his fists, there's a shadow boxing in the air, and he's willing to get his freaking payback and get his money back. So it leads to a huge confrontation in that last act. And then, of course, ASAP gets arrested, which leads to a whole end sequence. Which is kind of mirror similar to the end of the Kurosawa High and Lows. That's pretty much what Highest to Lowest is about. So now we got that out the way. Highest to Lowest. I like the movie. It's not bad. It's a good movie, but I would say that it is a bit melodramatic and corny, and it's not. It doesn't help that personally, like throughout the entire movie, almost the entire movie, without relentless, Spike Lee has this freaking melodramatic, over the top, Lifetime Tyler Perry sounding music score that is pretty much layered throughout the whole goddamn movie. Like he just copy and paste and let that shit run, and it's like joyful. You know what I mean? Overly joyful, like a Lifetime movies when in happy moments, which kind of feels like a comedy at this point, because like this is like a drama going on with this ridiculous over the top music. You're kind of making me not take this shit seriously at all. And then you have the sad music, which is like, now you're kind of making this a joke because like this was a real sad moment, but then this music is kind of hilarious because it's like it's so exaggerated, you know. So kind of it gave off Tyler Perry vibes for real. So that's something I really didn't vibe with. I do, in the original Kurosawa film, there are moments like it's kind of split because you have all of the Gondo stuff in the opening and it's pretty much self-contained to his penthouse, so you can see him trapped within his own success within his own world, you know, while the ground shrinks beneath his feet, and you get internal politics about how his shoe company is working, and it justifies why he needs to buy this company from these idiots is gonna fuck the company up. So that's interesting. That's very all that stuff is interesting, but that's just the first half. And then the next half is them trying to get the money back and find the kidnappers. So it now leans on the cops' investigation, which now the movie's kind of split between focus. Which in Highest to Lowest, Denzel's every fucking part of the movie, and basically his performance carries his goddamn movie. Without him, he's literally anchoring this fucking film. So he's in every freaking, because now we want to focus on how he feels, how everything's, the stress building up around him and how he deals with it. Because once the money's gone, he has to find it. It's a lot of stakes because he can get potentially arrested because he's on loan for that money. That's not his money. The money was earmarked for something specific. Even if he did it for a good cause, it wasn't his money to do it. So now he has to deal with that shit. So now he needs his money back, you know. But then he also has to deal with putting this not innocent kid, but this kid that he could resonate with from the hood, you know, just trying to make it, basically in prison. You know what I'm saying? But he's pretty much cool with doing that. So that more dilemma is not too much there, but you could tell that like A$AP Rocky is a huge fan of Denzel's character. Like all he ever wanted was to be recognized and sound him. When he came out of prison, he had no real options. He can't really do nothing, and that's a lot of black people in the hood. All they feel they could do is play basketball or rap, right? But so much options. So he put all of his time into this music. He wants to be like him, you know what I mean? So and he even mentioned that in the movie, he always looks up to his penthouse, you know what I mean? So he knows where he stays and shit like that, while, you know, he stays in like the Bronx in the hood, or like I think Harlem or the Bronx, but definitely like in the hood, you know. And that's kind of like in High and Low, the kidnapper and Gondo, because there was no real hatred between these two, not directly, but it's like he's jealous, he's bitter, he's like, I live in the slums while I get to see your ass live in this fucking high rise above everything, you know what I mean? And that contrast is really there. So similar here, you know, but it wasn't like Denzel. But the black culture is a little different because Denzel's someone who actually made it, you know what I'm saying? He's not someone that just was born rich, similar to Gondo, you know what I mean? But to him, he looks at him as like, he has everything I want. You know what I mean? That's why he wants to steal all his money. Instead of asking for a small sum, A$AP asks for everything, essentially. 17 million is crazy. He could have got $500,000, $1 million, $2 million, be good. You need 17 million, really? That shows that he wants to flex. He wants to be a big man. He wants to be him. So that's what leads nicely into the last scene where he's arrested 25 years and they're speaking in prison. And he's like, yo, now that all this publicity I'm getting, similar to how people get publicity. Like this one rapper, TK, got famous while he was getting arrested for like a felony. You know what I mean? You know, so it blew up his music. Similar to A$AP here, him getting arrested, blew up his music. So now all the way was on his dick when to sign him, but he still wants to go to Denzel. You know what I mean? End of the day, he wants to be that, because that's his vision of what successful black man is. You know what I mean? That's what he wants to be, and he's willing to do whatever he needs to get there. Because where he says it, where he sees it, it's like this is all he ever be. This is all he knows is being the hood. You know what I mean? Like, and this is his version of success, and that's how people from his world know how to get success. Yeah, so that's pretty much. I mean, that point. Let me see if I can. Let me think. Instead of this thing ramble, I'm just gonna pause. Yeah. So the whole thing ties back into like being dropped, like a generational divide and like black responsibility. Well, and black responsibility in terms of success and representation for our communities, because we have this askew version of what success is. Like literally, there's like in the final scene between A$AP Rocky and Denzel character King. Literally, there's like a sequence right before they really start talking where he sings his song that's been playing throughout the whole movie, and he has a whole bunch of bad bitches twerking ass, you know, in front of him. You know, like imagine that visual scenario. You know what I mean? Because now he's up, because now everyone wants to sign him, because now his songs are going crazy. You know, he's in prison, which is reminiscent of a lot of actors, a lot of rappers in real life. You know, because for some reason we like to see our brothers locked up, and in these kind of positions, locked up or dead, and that's all of a sudden that's when the music starts to blow up, and people start to care because real life dramas following, you know, their everyday lives makes them entertaining, because nowadays with social media, it's less about talent, it's more about being entertaining. We see it with rappers in real life, you know. But basically, his whole thing is that, yo, I'm hot now, you know. But at this point, Denzel is like, he decided to create his own thing, a smaller thing that he could be, a small label where he could be with his family. Like, he realized that he's done with the rat race. He was trying to chase something, and he realized, what the hell am I really chasing? And so that enrages A$AP Rocky. He's like, yo, fuck you. Because all he's ever wanted, his vision of success was being signed by this man and becoming a success rapper. And that vision crumbled upon his face. Because he's like, because before I tried to get my demos to you, I did everything I could. You know, nothing. Now I'm here. Now I got clout. Because all of a sudden these days it's about clout. So as long as you have emotion behind you, you know what I mean? Other ladies want to sign you, you have power. No power, you know what I mean? Like, still doesn't want you, so now he has to deal with that whole thing, you know what I mean? And I thought it was powerful in its own right, but it kind of is different from it's similar to the final scene with the kidnapper and Gondo in High and Low, because that with that still was an aura of bitterness, because he was more morbid because he was gonna die. He was sentenced to a long time in jail, ASAP Rocky. But in High and Low, the kidnapper was sentenced to death because people died and a lot of bullshit. That shit went really off the rails, you know. So saying that, so that is a lot more morbid. But then, yeah. So with that, the kidnapper essentially, so the only similarity is that they both are still drowning in their own bitterness and anger, you know. But yeah, but in kind of what I really liked about it, really knowing that he died and impending doom, and in his last moments he lets out all his frustration and bitterness and resentment, because that's basically what him and Rocky are. They're just resentful, bitter ass people. And with the kidnapper, he's similar to, in the kidnapper, he's looking at Denzel, you know what I mean? Sorry. The kidnapper, he's looking at Gondo, like in this high rise, in this vision of success, while he is stuck in poverty, in the slums. You know, this visual representation of the high and low. You know, he's low, he's high, and and he constantly was tired of being looked down on. He's tired of this divide of inequality, and that's what prompted him to steal from him. It wasn't anything personal. He just got tired of it. He got tired of being in the system. So out of jealousy and resentfulness, and you know, he wanted to take something from them, you know. But so it was more about the principle for high and low. But for highest to lowest, it's more about A$AP Rocky's own ego, which drives a lot of black people in this, people in general, but black people specifically in this generation, which is ego, our own distorted view of what success is. You know what I mean? And the representation of success. And I thought it is an important lesson, but my own drawback is that I felt it gets kind of preachy, especially when it comes to when Denzel talks about, when he let in lines about the generation divide, old wave versus new, old guard versus the new wave. You know what I mean? I feel like you're trying to like teach lessons to the young kids, and it's cool, but you know, in movies, you don't want to be too preachy. You want to have subtlety. You want to mainly entertain, which the film did, but you want to entertain, and then a side effect of what you watched, you kind of get away with it. But if you're damn right just looking into the audience and being kind of like, and then you have the freaking melodramatic music, you know, it feels like an after school special, you know, and you can't really take shit like that seriously. And also, like, the dialogue to me was just really corny, which makes sense because Spike Lee didn't even write it. It was this new, this new first time screenwriter that wrote it. So that's kind of telling. So this movie's not perfect. It hits, it has interesting themes, you know, and I felt it has some good performances. A$AP Rocky really embodied the role. It makes sense because he is a rapper from Harlem, so you know he felt really authentic. Denzel Washington always did his thing. He carried his film on his back. The Sons was cool, not the best actors, but I think they did their parts really well. Yeah. Jeffrey Wright was decent in his role. I really love him and Denzel together, especially when they were trying to get revenge. And he was like, and he was telling him, "Yo, get that motherfucker," because he wanted to go with him, because he wanted to go confront A$AP Rocky alone. Do you old dude with the piece? I mean, you don't know who he got in that studio, but fine. He wanted to handle his own business, cool. But like, yeah, when he wanted to come in with the studio with him, and he had his second gat after he gave him his first gat, I was like, that was pretty funny. So seeing them together, that she was pretty good dynamic there. But yeah, other than that, yeah, that's those are my biggest problems of the movie. I think it did certain things better than High and Low, but I think High and Low has overall more impactful scenes, and I think they hit it on the head with their themes a little more than what Highest to Lowest did. Even though Highest to Lowest had some interesting ideas that resonates even more with the young community, especially the young urban community, black community. In this day and age of black entertainment. But honestly, if you want a more nuanced, and you want a more like in-depth, more interesting, should I say view or like perspective, you should probably watch Sinners. Sinners does it with a little bit more creativity and less in your face than what this film does. Yeah, definitely preachy, and Denzel definitely breaks into preachy, corny monologue, but he's trying to make corny dialogue to sound as good as he and as natural as he possibly can, in Denzel's charming way. So B, I'll probably give this film an 83. Solid watch. Has some issues, not perfect. Hate the score that's laid out throughout the whole goddamn movie. Really felt melodramatic at times. Kind of corny dialogue, but overall, definitely some good themes. Definitely hit some good Kurosawa beats, similar to, it's a reimagining of High and Low. So he definitely managed to hit some of those same beats as High and Low, while still kind of maintaining its own originality or its own story. Better yet. So it's not a complete ripoff, but it does have similar structure. But it handles certain things differently, especially with the pacing, how they kept the main character throughout the whole film instead of splitting apart almost, one half is Gondo, the second half is the cops and catching the kidnapper. So with saying that, yeah, that is my overall consensus. I think you should still watch this movie, support it, definitely before it comes on Apple TV. Let's try to run the numbers up quickly as much as we can because we don't have much time. It's in Alamo, it's in some select theaters. Give it a watch. Support filmmakers, support black filmmakers, support movies, and catch you in the next review. Like and subscribe. Hit the notification bell so you can see some of our newer videos that are coming out, reaction reviews, and other videos.